Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service. On this 29th day of May 2021, I'll be hosting today's show. Up first, we've got, the hazardous weather graphic. Let me back up one here. Boy. Still a wind advisory out for this evening until 1 a.m. Sunday morning for the central interior in the around Tanana, the Tanana area, the greater Tanana area, for continued gusty winds this evening, possibly as high as 40 miles an hour. Otherwise, the sustained winds more of a 10 to 25 or 15 to 25 mile per hour range there, slowly diminishing. And other than that, that's it for any watches, warnings, or advisories around the state for the next couple of days. When that ends at 1 p.m. tonight, or 1 a.m. tonight, then that'll be it, probably for a few days. Otherwise, satellite imagery here showing weak front there just north of the Alaska Peninsula into Bristol Bay, and bringing rain into southern Alaska today, Copper River Basin, and to a lesser extent north of the Alaska Range up near or east of Fairbanks, some light precipitation. Chena Ridge, I believe, picked up 1/10 of an inch of precipitation in the last 12 hours, only at 3 p.m. this afternoon. Heavier amounts along the North Gulf Coast. Let's see, Yakutat had about 1 2/10 of an inch of precipitation. Juneau, 4/10 of an inch, but that precipitation on the Panhandle really drops off as you head south. By contrast, that 4/10 at Juneau, only, 3/100 of an inch at Petersburg in the same 12-hour period, and nothing reported down south. Annette, Ketchikan, Metlakatla, in those areas. Otherwise, out to the west, a lot of sunshine over the northern Bering Sea today. Clear skies, and also the western interior, although clouds coming into the Kuskokwim Valley there and up close to the Yukon River, mostly east of the river there, but western interior is staying pretty nice. And the northern Bering Sea had some clearing all the way down to Adak and Atka today with some sunshine. And winds not too bad, still pretty gusty though. Nikolsky there, Unimak Island had peak wind gusts 56 miles an hour, while Adak had about 40 miles an hour on the wind gusts, Adak and Atka there. Kipnuk, southwest coast, northeast winds, still seeing gusts 46 miles an hour today. Bethel about 43 miles an hour, so very windy but dry conditions there over the southwest interior, and 25 to 30 mile an hour winds up north into the Seward Peninsula area. Otherwise, light snow possibly there, the central Arctic coast, some weak trough and clouds, really pretty light amounts though. The main upper level low now pulling off to the southwest, and that creating the southwest flow, driving all that moisture up into the North Gulf Coast, bringing the rain about 4,500 at Kodiak, an inch of rain there today, and rolling that through, making that loop again one more time here. There we go. It's kind of sluggish on the system here, but it's plugging along. And there we go again. And if we can jump to there. Today you can see now very markedly the clear skies out over the Bering Sea from the Bering Strait, Seward Peninsula, Norton Sound. Actually, what you see white there on Norton Sound and St. Lawrence Island, that's remaining sea ice, and to a much lesser extent fog. There probably was some patchy areas of fog there, but that's mostly ice up there, and nothing but clear skies you can see all the way down in toward Atka, or actually Adak. Atka in the clouds there with a few showers out towards Shimia, and the rain kind of lifting north of the Alaska Peninsula now. Light amounts, what did fall. And low pressure, though, kept a little bit more rain for Kodiak, about, as I mentioned, 45, just under half an inch in the last 12 hours. And then the trough, gusty winds, gale force winds, actually, North Gulf Coast today. And that heavier rain, half an inch at Cordova fell, and anywhere from about 2/10 of an inch at the state airport in Anchorage today. Wet day, Copper River Basin areas of rain and showers. Lighter amounts over the Alaska Range, mostly south of Eagle. And into the northern Panhandle there, again, that pretty significant shower activity, 4/10 of an inch at Juneau, but it cuts off and ends. Nothing down over the southern southeast coast. High pressure in over the north slope. Clear skies, Barter Island this afternoon. Light winds, not too bad up that way. And looking at the forecast for tonight, still may get clipped with a few skiffs of flurries or patchy fog there, mainly on the central Arctic because of that weak trough up over the Arctic there. Just got the trailing edge hitting the central coast. Look for areas of clearing, though. Central northern interior, drier conditions north of the Alaska Range. Actually, even along the Alaska Range, shower chances begin to diminish, say from Windy Pass or Denali eastward. Chance of rain continues in showers for the North Gulf Coast, Kenai Peninsula area. Kodiak Islands, diminishing showers, rain ending, showers maybe even ending toward morning. Rain for the Panhandle, that front pushing in toward the coast. Low pressure keeps it unsettled. Still that upper level low pulling southwestward slowly. So mostly cloudy, showers for the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, lower Kuskokwim Valley as well, and showers extending to the eastern Aleutians. Bering Sea, variably cloudy, areas of patchy fog, low clouds, still quite a clear area out there. A little breezy with those northeast winds, but not too terribly strong, kind of all diminishing in a diminishing mode there, but still breezy through the central interior, again with that wind advisory around Tanana till 1 a.m. And then for tomorrow, partly to mostly sunny central interior, mostly sunny, Koyukuk Valley, Brooks Range, maybe into the North Slope, some sunshine in the afternoon, but low clouds, fog possible throughout the entire day along the Arctic coast. Light rain or showers for the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, southern Kenai Peninsula, into the Panhandle, and chance of rain again with another system there pushing up toward the Alaska Peninsula. Maybe partly sunny for Kodiak Island, kind of in between systems, and still mostly cloudy with scattered showers over the southwest interior, especially there around Togiak Bay into Dillingham and the southern Kuskokwim Delta area. Dry over the Aleutians and light winds, sunshine, western Aleutians into Adak and Atka. Outlook for Monday, same thing. Weak low pressure may kick off some showers over the Pribilofs, but that'll stay north of the central Aleutians. Lots of good weather out there, sunshine, and even the northern Bering Sea, maybe some clouds, but dry conditions, winds light, a little brisk along the Brooks Range through the passes there. Could see northeast winds gusting 25, maybe 30 miles an hour, and still areas of flurries, fog, low clouds possible there for the North Slope and the Arctic coast. Occasional rain and showers with a trough dying along the eastern North Gulf Coast into the Panhandle. Another front brings some rain into the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island in the afternoon, but winds not much of a factor at all. Taking a look at the forecast low temperatures for tonight. For Sunday morning, lows in the in the 40s for the Panhandle, and mid to upper 30s, Copper River Basin, otherwise 40 to 45 there for the southern Alaska, Kodiak Island, lower 40s for Bristol Bay, Kuskokwim Valley in the lower 40s. And then for the highs for Sunday afternoon, in the 60s, mid 60s for the Kuskokwim Valley, and upper 50s to lower 60s for the south central Alaska area, with the Susitna Valley possibly rising into the lower 60s, upper 50s to near 60 in the Copper River Basin, mostly in the mid to upper 50s for the Panhandle, lower 50s Kodiak Island, central interior Tanana Valley, even into the Yukon Flats, a little warmer, temperatures back into the lower to mid 60s there, otherwise in the 50s. And then for the lows on Monday morning, near 40 for the Copper River Basin, lower or mid 40s for southern Alaska, lower 40s Bristol Bay, Panhandle 45 to 50 for the overnight lows, and probably in the 40s now for the central interior areas. And then for the highs on Monday afternoon, warmer temperatures pushing up near 70 over the central interior from the central Tanana Valley down into St. McGrath and Nikolai, and 65 to 70 for the Susitna Valley, otherwise upper 50s to mid 60s Kenai Peninsula, lower to mid 60s Copper River Basin, upper 50s to lower 60s for the southeast coast, warmest there for Prince of Wales Island area, maybe some lower 60s, near 50 Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay upper 50s to near 60. And then for the, let's see, that was the highs Monday afternoon, highs again, and then up in the interior there where it got cut off, highs looking a little bit warmer as well, 60s now, possibly up into the Yukon Flats area, Koyukuk Valley, and as you can see out toward these coastal areas along the lower Yukon River, but the coastline staying mostly in the 40s. Arctic coast probably looking at highs in the lower to mid 30s for your afternoon highs, coming up from upper 20s.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
First line weather graphic for Sunday morning. IFR, western and central Arctic coast. Marginal VFR across the North Slope there. Improving though, and looks like VFR over toward Barter Island and the eastern Brooks Range. And south of the Brooks Range, VFR down to the Yukon River. And then you start picking up some areas of marginal VFR, kind of a narrow band there on the south side of the central river there, Central Valley. And looks like IFR over toward Eagle, and then marginal VFR across Upper Tanana Valley, IFR, southern and eastern slopes of the western Alaska Range there, probably south of Windy Pass. IFR Prince William Sound to Cape St. Elias, southern Kenai Peninsula, Resurrection Bay, Kachemak Bay, possibly, definitely Kamishak Bay, Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay IFR, most of the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, Adak and Atka VFR, and marginal VFR for the Panhandle. Bering Sea, solid VFR there, all the way up to the Bering Strait into the Chukchi Sea. And then for the afternoon, looking not too bad. Whoop, got a little delay there in the advance. Okay, Sunday afternoon, VFR in the interior, marginal VFR North Slope, IFR Central Arctic Coast there, and area of marginal VFR now in the northern Bering Sea. Just kind of comes out of nowhere, it seems like, but it's definitely probably be there for the western Seward Peninsula across Norton Sound into the lower Yukon River Valley, Kuskokwim Valley, marginal VFR, most of Cook Inlet, toward Turnagain Arm, Kinnick Arm, maybe VFR, definitely for the Susitna Valley, northern Copper River Basin into the central interior, IFR northern Panhandle, marginal VFR to the south, North Gulf Coast, IFR, and on Alaska Island, south coast of the Kenai Peninsula, IFR, VFR for Adak, Atka is hanging on to some lower conditions there, as is the area from Amchitka to Shimia, Pribilos, VFR. And then for the Monday morning outlook, VFR back on the increase there for the western central Aleutians into the southwest Bering Sea, but area of IFR from St. Matthew Island across St. Paul, St. George to Atka, eastward across the Fox Islands to maybe False Pass there, south coast of the Alaska Peninsula, IFR, north side better, possibly VFR into northeast Bristol Bay, marginal VFR, Kenai Peninsula, southern central Cook Inlet, and split the difference there across Kodiak Island, IFR to the south, marginal conditions to the north, Prince William Sound, IFR, Panhandle, IFR, North Slope, IFR, eastern Arctic coast as well. And then for Monday afternoon, improving up there, but still some lingering IFR, mostly along the northwest or the western coast a little bit there. Say, let's see, that's, I'll say northeast of Point Lay, Wainwright to Point Barrow, VFR south of the Brooks Range down until you get to the North Gulf Coast, marginal VFR, IFR eastern Kodiak Island, Gulf of Alaska Panhandle, and now some widespread IFR out over the Bering Sea. Passes, Anatuvik, marginal VFR becoming VFR, so not a bad day tomorrow, some marginal VFR to start for Adigan as well, but then becoming VFR. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, occasional marginal VFR, slow improvement possible in the afternoon, means it could be VFR at times. Rainy, marginal VFR, probably will become VFR. And same thing for windy, marginal to start and then VFR toward mid to late morning through the afternoon. Isabel, marginal VFR becomes VFR, and Mentasta could be VFR the entire day, starting out possibly marginal. And then for Tanita, marginal VFR slowly becoming VFR. And Portage, IFR to marginal VFR, slow improvement through the day, but staying marginal at best. And for Chilkoot and White, with some moisture coming back up, marginal VFR becomes IFR in the afternoon. And the freezing level is 2,000 feet there, North Slope, Central Eastern Brooks Range to 8,000 feet there over the eastern interior, north of the Alaska Range, and 2,000 feet, kind of a cold pocket there near Yakutat into the northern Panhandle, and about 4,000 feet over the Bering Sea, a little milder out west. And icing, not too much of a threat. The best potential will be across the southeast coast, light to isolated, moderate rime or mixed icing that kind of scatters out across southern Alaska, but still just a slight chance for St. Lawrence Island. Jet stream, upper low there west of Nunivak Island, and 70-knot winds into the southern Panhandle, 35 to 50 knots out of the east across St. Lawrence Island, and 40 knots into the north coast of the Panhandle. Windiest conditions, St. Lawrence Island, and turbulence. Light to isolated moderate chop, say the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, light to isolated moderate for the North Gulf Coast and the Panhandle.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snyder, and joining us once again is Eric Stevens, our good friend from GINA, the Geographic Information Network of Alaska, based up at UAF. And thanks for joining us, Eric. Really appreciate it.
Oh, happy to be here, Dave.
We love to hear about all the fascinating developments, new and old, and how we're using the tools here, especially around Alaska. And I've got to think that, satellite meteorology right now is a fascinating time to be involved in. If we go back to the first satellite, Tyros, back in 1960, I think is when we got some of those first pictures. Weather and meteorology probably changed that day for a whole lot of people, and it's still changing today, right?
Oh, you know it. Satellite imagery is so important, and it's getting better all the time. Yeah. Of course, never perfect, but especially for us in Alaska, where there are other data sets like radars and weather balloons are so thinly spread. Right. The satellite is the great equalizer because the satellite sees everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We've got one particular issue in volcanic ash detection.
That's a big deal here. Yeah.
You know it. If you fly an airplane into volcanic ash, your jet engine might just fail. And an airplane without engines is in a world of hurt. Sure. So if there's a volcano that goes off, satellite imagery is the way to track that plume of ash and to tell pilots this is where you need to not be to avoid this ash plume. And there's a phrase out there, what's the difference? What's the difference?
Okay.
Well, it turns out, what we're going to discuss today, that the difference is everything. There's a technique called channel differencing. Okay. That if you take one piece of the spectrum of what the satellite detects and a slightly different wavelength of that spectrum, even though those two images might look similar, magical things happen when you subtract one from the other. And they reveal information that was already there, but it was hard to find until you did that subtraction.
That sounds like Nicolas Cage in National Treasure when he's got those fancy glasses and he's flipping one up and back and forth. I mean, is this what we're talking about?
Well, let's go more highbrow and talk Michelangelo. Oh, so apparently Michelangelo made some amazing sculpture, and someone said, Michael, that's amazing. How did you do it? And Michelangelo's reply allegedly was, well, in that rock, the statue was already in there. Right. I just scraped away the unnecessary bits. In satellite meteorology, sometimes there are meteorological features that are in the data, but you can't see it until you combine or difference some of the channels. Okay. And we've got a case, good old Pavlov volcano goes off now and then. Sure. And you can observe directly a picture of the volcano. Just take it with your iPhone. You can see a volcano going erupting. Off. Yep. Right. But if you want to get the broad view, we need satellite to do that. Now, there are a couple of wavelengths that we can look at. So what's a wavelength? That's the amount of space between a peak and a valley and another peak in a certain part of the electromagnetic spectrum. We're going to look at 12 micron wavelength and 10.8 micron wavelength.
What is a micron?
So what's a micron? Yeah, we're getting into the geek department now. A micron is a unit of length, and it is quite tiny. We're looking at what's called long wave wavelengths, but it takes 25,000 of these microns to make an inch. A human blood cell is about 5 microns across. So when we're talking about 12 micron imagery as allegedly long wave, well, that's relative.
Pretty short for light.
Yeah, it's other part of the, it's just an expression for the spectrum there. Okay. So we can look at a 12 micron image, say a satellite image. At 12 microns, we're seeing a heat signature here, really, and the way this color enhancement works is the yellow and the red stuff is high cold clouds down here over the Gulf of Alaska into South Central. And if you were asked, where do you find the volcanic ash plume in this image?
Hey, where do you find the volcanic plume in this image?
It's hard to do. I'm not sure I could find it. If you were to look at this image and just say, show me what jumps out at you here, I'd say, well, nothing really. Well, let's look. So 12 micron doesn't help us. Let's look at 10.8 microns. All right. All right, look at that. It's practically the same image. So where's this volcanic ash? Can't find it at 12 microns, can't really see it at 10.8, but when we subtract one channel from the other, magically the plume appears. The color enhancement here highlights the ash in blue. Wow. The information was already there, but we couldn't find it until we subtracted one channel from another. Very interesting. It's almost magical. Similarly, let's say you're looking for fog up on the North Slope. It's kind of a foggy neighborhood. Sure. In 11 micron and 3.9 micron, we've got a 3.9 micron image here. it's a big fuzzy blur over Barrow. We can't see where the fog is. But the information is lurking in there waiting for us to reveal it. All we have to do is find that difference between the 11 micron and the 3.9, and then this image becomes this image, and the fog bank jumps right out, and you can see it up there at Barrow. Now, you got to choose the right tool for the job.
Sure.
Like they say, you open your toolbox, all kinds of stuff in there. What do we need for this particular task? If you want to find volcanic ash, we look at 12 and 10.8 micron, find that difference. If you want to find fog, we'll look at 11 and 3.9 micron, find that difference. It's great, different tools for different jobs. Of course, there's always caveats and gotchas, but this fog procedure, it only works at night, because when the sun comes up, it gets in the way. So every product has its strengths and limitations, and in meteorology, the challenge is using the right tool for the right job, and these are some of those tools.
And discovery is still happening, even with meteorology. The weather's been around for a long time, but the tools that are being developed to understand the meteorology is fascinating and still very new science.
It's such a young science. We've come so far. And I'm getting old enough now that I can literally say that, you know, when I was a boy, we didn't have this kind of thing. And there's new things happening all the time. New satellites will be launched in coming years that will have better instruments than ever before. It's an exciting time, and this is so helpful for Alaska because satellites help fill in the gaps between other ways of observing the weather. Satellites, the great equalizer for Alaska.
Yeah, and help so many people stay safe in so many ways every day up here in the last frontier.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, protecting lives and property.
Well, thank you so much for joining us again, Eric. We love to hear about this fascinating information, and boy, it just makes me want to go watch satellite pictures all day. So hopefully we're inspiring more people to do the same thing, and just be curious. It's a wonderful thing. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Alaska Weather Facts, and we'll see you next time.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at the sea ice analysis for today. Still opening up there over eastern Norton Sound, and the ice that's continuing to retreat slowly back to the north. And going on to the the coastal water forecast for the Panhandle tomorrow. Got gale warnings along the central coast, southeast 35 knots, seas 11 to 13 feet. Small craft advisories both on the south and north coast, with south coast looking at southeast 25 knots and the north coast east-southeast at 30 knots with seas around 15 feet. Lynn Canal, south winds 15 knots tomorrow. Stevens Passage, southeast at 15. Clarence Strait a little higher with a southeast wind at 20 knots and seas at 4 feet. And then for the day on Monday, we've got, let's see, back it up here. There we go, the right direction. South winds 15 knots for Lynn Canal on Monday, and southeast 15 for Clarence Strait. Otherwise, pretty light winds for Stevens Passage there in the central inside waters, southeast at 10 knots, with seas running around 2 feet or less. Lighter winds along the coast now, south to southeast at 20 knots on the south coast, east-southeast at 20 on the north coast, seas just under 10 feet. Prince William Sound for tomorrow, northeast winds 20 knots, seas 4 feet. Same thing for northern Cook Inlet, winds out of the northeast at 20 knots, southern Cook Inlet north at 20. But small craft advisories, Kamishak Bay, northeast winds at 25 knots with 7-foot seas. And for the North Gulf Coast, Barren Islands, or western North Gulf Coast and the Barren Islands, east winds at 20 knots with small craft advisories there around Middleton Island to Cape St. Elias, east winds 30 knots with 13-foot seas. Outlook for Monday, east winds 20 knots now around Middleton Island, lighter winds for Prince William Sound as well, northeast at 10, Cook Inlet, northeast winds 15 knots, small craft advisories for the Barren Islands and the western North Gulf Coast for east winds at 25 knots with seas 7 to 9 feet, Kamishak Bay, east at about 20 with 7-foot seas. And looking at Kodiak Island, pretty light wind pattern there, not much of a pressure gradient at all, so southeast winds 10 to 15 knots with 3 to 8-foot seas. And east winds at 20 knots from Sitkinak all the way down the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula to Cape Saratchev. 7 to 8-foot seas there with those easterlies at 20. And then 15-knot winds from the south on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. Bristol Bay, southeast of 15 knots. Seas pretty slight at 2 feet. And then for Bristol Bay on Monday, northeast winds 20 knots. The Alaska Peninsula, small craft advisories, northeasterlies, 25 to 30 knots with seas running 5 feet there on the Bering Sea side. of the peninsula. Pacific side up to 12 feet, and then east winds at 30 knots from Castle Cape to Sitkinak with 11-foot seas. Kodiak Island, east-northeast winds 25 knots with 8-foot seas. Out over the western Aleutians, Shemya, Attu, and Kiska, or Amchitka, or Kiska Island, north at 15, Amchitka Island north at 20. Small craft advisories there for Atka and Unamak Island for northerly winds at 25 knots. On Alaska Island, northeast winds 20 knots and seas 5 to 7 feet. And for Monday, on Alaska Island, north winds 20 to 25 knots, 4 to 10-foot seas. Highest seas, of course, on the Pacific side of the island. And Unamak Island, lighter and a little more variable. Call it north to northeast or east at 10 on the north side. And Adak and Atka, light west winds 10 to 15 knots, 5-foot seas. Light winds also for the western Aleutians from the west, or from the northwest and north at 15 knots. And for the southwest coast, look for northerlies tomorrow, 20 knots, 25-knot winds for St. Matthew Island and St. Lawrence Island, 20-knot winds for the Pribilofs with 7-foot seas. And then for Monday, loses small craft advisories for St. Lawrence Island, winds about 20 knots out of the north with 4-foot seas, no wind virtually for Norton Sound. And Yukon Delta Coast north of 15, small craft advisories for the Kuskokwim Delta coastline. Pribilofs northeast only at 15 knots with 4-foot seas. Up along the Arctic coast, east side there, west-southwest at 15, north 15 central coast, light northerlies at 10 knots on the west side, Cape Beaufort to Cape or to Wales, Bering Strait there, north at 20. And then let's see, small craft advisories now for the western Arctic coast, 30-knot winds, Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort at 30 knots, and then 25-knot winds from Cape Thompson to Wales. Otherwise, light north winds 10 to 15 knots for the central and eastern Beaufort Sea coast. And for tonight, still a risk of some flurries of the weak trough up over the Arctic there for the central Arctic coast. Nothing too significant. Light winds and fair in the interior. Still a chance of showers there along the Alaska Range. Chance of rain along the North Gulf Coast and rain in the Panhandle. And for tomorrow, drier, a little warmer in the central interior.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.